Hi, everybody. It's 7 o'clock, so I think we'll start, not to waste anybody's time. I appreciate that you being here, and I hope it's going well with your studies. Um, Tonight, we're going to listen to Dr. Madeleine Fourie. She's going to talk to you about entering the world of work. She told me that this PowerPoint can be a work document for you to help you in the future. Thank you, Dr. Madeleine. I appreciate you being here and talking to our students. Practical is that we're not going to put on our cameras, so it's not necessary, to help you save some data. And then at the end of the session, I will go through the list of names. And after I mark your name, you will be welcome to leave the meeting. Okay, thank you to you, Dr. Madeleine. You're welcome to continue.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. It's wonderful for me to be part of your academic journey tonight. And it's wonderful for me to tell you more about this topic specifically, how to enter the world of work. One of these days, you guys will be at this point in time in your life that you need to do some job applications, fill in some sort of stuff, and you need to prepare yourself for that. So I hope you'll find this very helpful tonight. So let's kick off and let's start with the first one here. It's the changing landscape of work and career. I like an interactive type of class. So if you see something and you would like to ask a question, be warm. You are very welcome to do so. Also, I can ask you at the end of the session if there's something else that you want to know more about. But for us to kick off, I want us to read this together. And then I want just one or two hands to tell me what you think about this. The world is changing constantly, and these changes, economic, political, technological, and cultural, have profound effects on the world of work. And accompanying these changes is a level of uncertainty that can play havoc with people's careers and lives. Now, intense competition in all industries has been fueled by increased global business and an uncertain world economy. So this fierce competition has produced numerous acquisitions, internal reorganizations, a structuring of jobs and outsourcing as a means to contain costs, and a related change in the psychological bond between employers and employees. So if you read this, what comes to mind immediately? If you want to type, you're more than welcome to do so. But anyone, just quickly, if you read this, what immediately comes to mind? Anyone? What do you guys see here? Because it's going to help you to prepare yourself for this. Can you tell me? Do I need to tell you? Any hands? Anyone? What you guys will see here is constant change, and you need to be
Sorry,
able.
ma'am.
Yeah, there you are, right now. Yes, please tell me, what do you see?
I would like to say, like, the world and everything is changing, but it doesn't mean people have to change to be different between each other. Like, you can form regarding to the changes and treat each other differently, but like in a respectful way with each other when the changes happen.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, very good. Thank you for that right now. I agree with you. And also that you need to have the ability to make sure that you can change, adapt, not change in yourself, but that you be able to adapt to certain things. I just want to see the chat. Marley, you say with the world constantly changing, you need to be ready for change as well. Yes. And yeah, Basil, you say change is the only certainty we have. That's absolutely, yeah, that's true as well. And we need to be able to adapt to the changes happening in the landscape of world. Absolutely, Elsie. Yeah, very good. That is very important to be able to take that in consideration. The second slide tells us more about that. We say modern organizations are staffed by an increasingly diverse group of employees. And in general, employees want to derive more meaning from work than simply money and security, and are paying considerable attention to balancing work, family, and personal lives. As part of a more general trend, employees are more assertive and vocal about their needs and are willing to leave organizations that fail to provide opportunities to meet these needs. This is also a very, very important thing to keep in mind. What we see today in the workplace is that it's very important for people to balance their work life, and more so for the generations right now. In the past, Generation X and those older people, their focus was work. Everything was about work. Maybe you are still very young. Maybe your parents are not that old yet. No, but my generation and my parents, the focus very much was about work. But today, people are very vocal about their needs indeed regarding a work-life balance. That's very important. And what we see in organizations, indeed, if an organization can't provide that specifically, if they have to work very long hours and there's not awards in terms of time off or money, people will leave their organizations for that and make some changes. Just for a bit, I want us to look at, and that's the academic part of this, is the meaning of work. And you'll see here are 3 definitions about the meaning of work. And very important, so I want you to look at this. The first one there is one of the most frequent asked questions. If you go to a conference, if you meet people for the first time in your life, one of the first questions will be, what do you do? Indeed, because work is indeed internal, as an integral part of our identity. You guys are focusing currently on a specific study, you have studies, you have a certain future for yourself in mind regarding work. So this will become part of who you are. One of the best definitions for me personally about work is that second one, Stad Sterkel, and I wrote there, it's the author of the fascinating book Working, and you will see the date there, 1974. That is flipped, that's way back. But he writes that work is a search for daily meaning as well as daily bread, for recognition as well as cash, for astonishment rather than torpor, in short, for a sort of life rather than a Monday through Friday sort of dying. And guys, this is very important because people want to engage in something meaningful. I'm sure if I ask you about this, you will tell me exactly what's important to each and every one of you. You have a certain dream for your life. And you want to contribute in some sort of way. And that is why you don't just want to do a job and just receive money for that. That's very well and very important as well, of course. But you want to add something meaningful as well. I don't know if do you agree, guys? I'm going on here on my own. Do you agree with that? Or you can tell me, yeah, I see you in the chat box. In the chart, I also see that you wrote about change. Yeah, of course, it's an opportunity to correct perspective. And Rhino, you said yes, and John Pierre, you as well, you agree. Okay, excellent. So with the last definition there, you will see that the meaning of work may be understood in a web of relationships, in the interplay of personal material, and in a larger context that makes it more or less meaningful, and indeed a web of relationships. It can't be otherwise, and therefore we need to adapt to that as well. Teamwork, that's a whole subject on its own, is how to adapt, how to work with people together. That's a story for another day. So with the next one, the definition of career, and I just want to give you a bit of background regarding this so that you guys know about this. It's a career is something that starts in its work-related experiences, and it generally expands the course of a person's life. And you can look at it in two ways: objective events or situations that tell us more about your job title, your job duties, everything that you need to do, your tasks, and what they expect of you, work-related decisions. But also there's the subjective interpretations of work-related events, and that tells us more about your own expectations, your values, your needs, your feelings about certain experiences, and that forms all part of career. And the next one is about career development, and that is something that you will go through in life. Career starts usually when you finish your studies and you start your career. We call it in industrial psychology, if you look at the different your lifespan of careers, your early career that starts young, early 20s, up to your late 30s. Then you move to your mid-career section, and that is a bit later, 40s plus, 40, a bit of 50s, and then you get to your late career. And each of these stages expects something else of you. There will be different challenges, different rewards, different learning processes. But if we talk about career development, this is a beautiful saying, and there is it on the screen as well, that it's an ongoing process by which individuals progress through a series of stages. That is what I'm talking about: early career, mid-career, late career, each of which is characterized by a relatively unique set of issues, themes, and tasks. Indeed, it will change throughout your lifetime. It also includes the total constellation of psychological, sociological, educational, physical, economic, and change factors that combine to shape the career of an individual over the lifespan. Each on you as a person, psychological, sociological, educational, it will expect something other. You will gain experience, but with each change there will be, or each stage then, there will be unique challenges. The next slide, I like this definition of all the definitions of career development the most, and I will tell you just now why. If you look at it, this too, and you also, do you see it's a 1980 already set by Wolf and Kolb, when they say it involves one's whole life, not just the occupation. As such, it concerns the whole person. That's important. Everything. More than that, it concerns him or her in the ever-changing context of his or her life. Because remember, now you also go through different life stages, not all different career stages. The environmental pressures and constraints, the bonds that tie him or her to significant others, responsibilities to children and aging parents. The total structure of one's circumstances are also factors that must be understood and reckoned with. In these terms, career development and personal development converge. Self and circumstances evolving, changing, unfolding in mutual interaction constitute the focus and the drama of career development. So this is a very broad definition, but it tells us something about you as a person, you as a whole person, and it says something about the person that go through each and every life stage as a young adult, then middle adulthood, and your mid-career more or less, and then late adulthood. And the same thing happens with your career. But this is, like I said, a topic whole on its own, but very interesting, because with each of these, you'll experience something new. For now, you guys start out as students and then you will enter the workforce. And this is what this conversation of tonight will be all over about. But you are youngsters now that enter the workforce. But in your personal lives, you also are maybe in a relationship. You are maybe in near future, you want to get married. You see maybe in future for yourself to have children. And all of this becomes part of this young adulthood and this first early career stage. And with all of these, there will be some unique challenges. And now as newlywed parents, you want to climb that corporate ladder. And that will bring certain uncertainties to your relationship, because now you need to adapt in a whole new situation where you need to also keep in mind that you have now a spouse that you need to take care of, and maybe you want to buy a house. It's cars, it's an economic factor, there will be children. So there's a lot of things that you need to keep in mind. But for now, just to enter the workforce, here are the application process. And I think you guys know it all by now. More or less, this is there's in short only a few steps. The initial application phase where you apply for a specific job that you have in mind, and then you will send out your CV with a cover letter, and I will discuss it right now in more detail. And then the workforce or the organization will screen through all the CVs and the cover letters. They will review each and every one of that. Sometimes they use scoring sheets to make it easier for them. In their minds, they look for someone specifically. They want a person that can do the job, knowledgeable person, but also a person with certain experience, but also a person with a certain personality that will maybe fit into their organization. So they always look for that cultural fit, meaning will this person, personality-wise, experience-wise, and knowledge-wise, fit into our organization. Each and every organization have their own organization culture. And you want to make sure that the person that come and work for you will fit into that culture. So they will go and review all the different CVs and cover letters, important, and then the interview process takes place. And today, there's different types of interviews. Some initial interviews start with a computer where you only answer to a screen, AI generated type of interview. Others is phone, telephonic, or they use all the technology that we have today, Zoom meetings or team meetings or one of those. Or then you get that panel interview where there will sit 5, 7 people that you need to talk to, and in person, of course, one-on-one as well. So a lot of sometimes they can ask you to do a presentation that they will listen to, and then they will ask you questions about that. They can ask you to do certain technical assessments to make sure, and also psychological tests that they can ask you. And then you see there the background and reference checks. Now that's very important. They will usually ask someone on the panel or in HR to go and look at your background. That is why you need to include a reference list in your CV. But they will go wider as that as well. They can look at your Instagram, your Facebook, all the social stuff. You guys know more about that than me, but we check all of that. And then they make that final decision. Usually they identify 3 or 5 or 7 people that they shortlisted, and they ask them to come for an interview, and they get invited. And then after that, they will choose someone, make a final offer, and then you start with the induction phase, where they will go through a certain program with you to help you to sit in this organization. Okay, any questions here? Not yet. If you have a question, you'll keep it in mind, and then you can ask me later on. So the first thing that I want to talk about is a cover letter. I don't know if you guys use cover letters, but that is a one-page document that you can email together with your CV or your resume to that email address that the company will provide. And this cover letter is actually a very important document because it immediately tells us something about yourself, something about how professional you are. We want to see, are you able to write properly? Can you structure sentences very well? And okay, let's start there. So it's a crucial function to see if you are competent or not. I say the personalization and context. It helps us to see if you research the organization that you apply to. And important here, the cover letter provide you the opportunity to link your CV and everything that you've done, your experiences and your knowledges, and tailor-make it to the advertisement. When people send out, when they ask people to apply for a certain job, they say they want certain skills, knowledge, qualifications. They have all that in mind. And then you need to go and look and see, but if you look at your CV, can you see that there may be a correlation between these two? And then you need to highlight that within your cover letter. So there must be a link between the job advertisement, a job ad, to your qualifications, your CV, and you need to combine that all in your cover letter. So I say there's storytelling and connection. While your CV lists all the facts, your cover letter will tell the story about your own experiences. Because why? You want to tell the new employer that you can be of value to this organization. And you need to bridge gaps between your background and the role requirements, explaining career transitions or unique circumstances. This is very important. We want to see if you can make that link between what we ask as an organization and then your own experience. So there also, why it's important, demonstrating communication skills. Showcase your written abilities. Can you articulate clearly, professionally, all that? And then important for you guys, you need to brag a little bit. You need to highlight your key achievements here. Expand on specific accomplishments from your CV. That's very important. Also, showing personality and cultural fit. That is what I'm talking about. This organization will see your values. Will it fit in with our organization's values? So you need to write something And this is not easy. It's not thank you, I want to apply for this position, see, attach my own CV. That's not what a cover letter is all about. This is the opportunity to market yourself a bit better. And the last point there, addressing potential concerns. Now, if you have employment gaps, of course it happens, career changes. The moment that we see the dates on your CV, they don't link up. We ask certain questions. It's a red flag for us. We immediately look at that. Now, if, say, for instance, you took a gap year, you take a gap year, and now you need to explain to us, but after you studied and you start with a certain organization, and for 6 months, what did you do before you enter a new or start working for another organization? What happened in that 6 months? Please explain it to us. Say, for instance, you decide to go on a certain adventure for 6 months, or you went overseas, or whatever. You need to proactively address that issues and positively explain what happened. Also there, with a cover letter, demonstrating research and initiative. It's important that you are able to share with the organizations that you understand the challenges and that you really can articulate that your experiences and your knowledge will be of value for the organization in order to reach and achieve their goals. That's important. The another thing why it's important, it's standing out in a competitive market. If we have candidates with similar qualifications, the only thing that can differentiate you from another applicant is an excellent written cover letter. And also we will see that in the interview as well. But if there's similar people, the cover letter can make the difference. And then, of course, the last one there, professional courtesy. It tells us a story about your professionalism and that you maybe have the ability to, your attention to detail. And so, guys, I don't know if you are familiar with cover letters, but this is a very, very important document to have. Any questions with regards to this before I go on? There's something that you guys want to ask? The next one is the CV I want to talk about. Nothing that you want to ask here? Are you all good? Oh, sorry. Guys, all good. Okay, guys, I do think you all know what a CV is all about. You see the Latin meaning for CV is course of life. It tells you something. This is a document that follows you from the beginning to end. Because it's a wonderful way to market yourself. You guys say, oh, you are all good. Thank you for that. Sorry, I want to move. A CV is indeed it serves as a master document, and you will tailor-make your CV each and every time that you will apply for a position. So you need to keep it off each and every year. If you do something immediately, I mean, if you do a different course or you do a workshop or anything that can add value to your repertoire of experiences you need to go and make the necessary changes, the add-ons to your CV. Your CV is most definitely the first impression, along with a cover letter, that you can make on potential employers. So it is very important that it looks beautiful and it all have the correct information in it. So I think this is something that you all learn at varsity each and every time. Every course will tell you more or less what's important for your CV, but just to go through it, contact information, your name, your phone number, your email address, your location. Are you married? Are you single? Do you have children or not? That's all very important. You can include your LinkedIn profile, that education, your degrees. With that, the institutions where you obtained these degrees, graduation dates, that's very important, and all other relevant coursework or academic achievements. Important if you receive any awards in your academic career, please state that as well. Tell us more about it. If you are busy with research, provide the title of your research. That's also very important so that we can see what was the focus of your research and what's your field of interests. So we want to know that as well. And then, of course, your work experience, job titles, the company names, the dates of employment. You can only bullet point at your most important tasks or responsibilities and accomplishments. Tell us more about that and also highlight the things, when you apply for a certain job in a company, they ask certain skill set of you and what they want, what they have in mind. So highlight that, all the things that you've already done, and show them that there's a link between the two. And then the skills, technical skills, software proficiencies, languages, relevant competitiveness specific to your field. That's very important. You guys are very good with different computer programs. You need to list all of that. If you speak a few languages, different languages, please name that as well. We want to know about that. So additional information that's very important for your CV, you can say research publications. If you have articles published in certain academical journals, that's important. If you've maybe wrote chapters in certain academic books, please refer to that as well. We want to know about any other certification and professional development courses that you went through, certain workshops that you attend, that add to your skill sets. Of course, I already said awards that you received, professional memberships, certain if you need to register with the SPCA, you need to list that. Volunteer work, especially if it's relevant to your career goals, that's important. List that. Projects, if you're more in a technical field, you need to list that as well. And guys, list your hobbies, because we want to see, do you have something like a work-life balance? We don't want people that only focus on work. We want to see, is there something else that they are interested in? Hiking, motorbiking, reading. You will know what's important to you, what type of hobbies. So, key principles for all sections. It is to just keep information relevant to your career goals. Use clear, concise language. That's very important. Quantify achievements where possible. Maintain consistent formatting, yeah, how it looks like. Your list items in reverse chronological order. You start with your most relevant job, what you are currently busy with, and then you reverse it backwards. And tailor content to the specific position or field. So for me is, I know when you look at CVs and you are in a more creative type of work, graphic design, your CV will look a bit more, maybe more attractive. You will use more colors. It will be more colorful. Other CVs will be black and white, and that's all. But today we have wonderful programs. You can go on Canva and use, there's certain what's the correct word now for it, that you can use to tailor-make your CV with, and that you can use a photo of yourself, and CV doesn't need to be pages and pages long, but certain organizations ask that. If you are in education, they will ask you, it's huge CVs, because they ask you to list all the relevant certifications that you obtained right through your studies and going forward and on. So that's long CVs, but usually it's only a few pages. And make sure you use a readable font and that your letter type is a 10 or a 12. Otherwise, it's very difficult to follow and very difficult to read. And always remember, send it in a PDF document. That's very important. So, yeah, you can make it very creative. You can allow for more visual elements. It all depends on the type of job that you're applying for. So, guys, any questions there? Or are you good? Sonika, you ask under what heading or section of the CV can we state our hobbies? You can state it, hobbies, and then you can name all the things that you're interested in, or you can say other interests, and you can list it there. Tell more. If you take part in community projects, you can list it there. If you are part of a running club, or a cycling club, or anything. If you are part of a creative groups, you can also list it there. Marley, you ask, how do you decide what to include in your CV appropriately? Every aspect of your school, university, and career, will it not get up to the stage, or do you include only a few specific aspects tailored to the position applied for? I will go for that one. As young people, you can add some school positions. If you have leadership positions in school, you can add it because you start out now. Later career, you won't do that anymore. You will only focus on job titles and all the leadership positions that you were part of in that current position. But in the beginning, you can please list your leadership positions. Tell us more about that, and tailor-made it to the position that you applied for. That's very important. So it's a good question. And Taria, you ask, must we use specific fonts such as Arial? Yes. No, you can use different font size, different type of fonts, but Arial is readable. I can't tell you difficulties. Say, for instance, you receive 50 or 60 CVs, and some fonts are unreadable. You don't give all your attention to that CV. Unfortunately, if you need to work through a massive lot of CVs, make it easy for the person that need to read that CV. Make sure that it's readable. Sometimes people use the letter size is, for instance, an 8 or a 9. You can see I'm already using my reading glasses, nee. So sometimes it's older people that needs to work through those CVs. Make it easy for them to work through that CV. So use a 10 and maybe the headings as a 12 or 12 font size. Dylan, you ask, how do you include your projects you built in your CV? Do you include links to them? Yeah, you guys are, if it's an interactive CV, you can do that as well. Or you can tell in your projects, and you can you can tell more about it. I'm assuming is it more about photos and things that you want to show with regards to your projects, because in a paragraph you can tell more about the projects. So, but of course, nothing wrong with to include links. You can make it very interactive as well. Yeah, Annika, you ask, is it compulsory to add a photo to your CV? Well, that's a good question. It's sometimes difficult. Some people prefer, some organizations prefer that you add a photo. Other organizations, not so much. And nowadays, most people include a photo somewhere on the front page with their name and their job position currently, and they include a short executive summary just beneath that, and then they start their CV. So, and in that summary, I didn't include it here, you can tell what's your focus. That executive summary will link very much with your cover letter. It will say more or less the same, but with your executive summary, you tell something about yourself, but also what's your focus and what's your goals and what you hope to contribute with this job specifically. Moalefi, you ask, normally in many CVs, I've seen the first section being used for personal statements. How important is that section? That personal statements that you're talking about, that is specifically the executive summary. So only a paragraph. Yeah, it's important. It's very nice. It is excellent, actually, to read more of a person's view, their values, what they hope to gain from this, what will their contribution be, and what they hope to achieve. It tells us something about the person already. So it's a huge positive. So you can use that. Dylan, you say it's about software developing project. Excellent. Then I will add the links definitely in my CV, and people can go and look at it. Elsie, you ask what kind of photo will be appropriate to add in your CV. Only head, nee, shoulder. It's almost like, but a friendlier that you use on your ID card, nee, much friendlier smile, nee, nice hair, all of that, nee, but only head, shoulder, yeah, head till here, shoulder is appropriate. Not full lengths. I only want to see face. Christian, you ask, I've been told that a LinkedIn profile that has been kept up to date is basically your CV. Is that true? Oh, yes, it's very much true. If people want to headhunt people, they will go directly and look only at LinkedIn profiles. So that's very important. Christian, it's also an excellent question. Very, very important. Include your LinkedIn profile in the beginning there, like we said a little bit earlier on. And job seekers will go only and look at different LinkedIn profiles, and you will see that they will contact you and ask you if you will be interested in, say, job so and so and so. So that's a very important thing. So keep that up as well. So all of these, your CVs, you will see if you start, you will have a 2025 edition, a 2026, a 2027. You will go on in life and add all the things that you need to do or have done within that CV and also then in your LinkedIn profile. Okay, guys. So let's look at now at interviews. So you are now lucky, applied for the job, and you are shortlisted, and now you need to prepare for the interview. And please, this is very important. Sometimes people think, oh, I will go in and I will just try to make the best of it. No, don't go in with that. Actually type out questions for yourself. Look at answers that's appropriate. Work out, write paragraphs, and make sure you know what it's all about. There's certain questions that you will find in each and every interview. For each and every job position, of course, they will test certain skill sets and knowledge that will be different then. But commonly asked questions, opening questions, if you look there, tell me more about yourself. Now, guys, just in short, very relaxed, very informal, tell about you are born in that city, grew up in that town, and now you've studied this. A few things about yourself, not in detail. Some people go in detail and it takes them 30 minutes. We in a few minutes' time, tell me something about yourself. I'm happy married. I have two children. I grew up in Bloemfontein. For you guys that start out, went to Central High School, for instance, and. Now tell something about yourself. Introduce yourself a bit. Some interviewers can ask you, walk me through your resume. Then they want you to go quickly with them through your CV and just explain. And that is why that chronological time frame is important, so that you can explain to them what happened when. And then, why are you interested in this position or this company? Very important, because now they want to see, did you do some research? Did you research the company? Did you research the position? And then now you need to tell them why you are interested, with your knowledge, with your skill set in the back of your mind. You need to make the links now to this position and this company. So very important. Then second one, experiences and skills. And you won't believe it, they will also always ask, what are your greatest strengths? And then some people don't know what their strengths are. That's very important. What are your strengths? And again, make sure that there's a link between your strengths and what the company asks for this specific job. So if you are in a PR relations, then there's a few things that's very important. Can you communicate very well? Do you have very good writing skills? Do you have the skill to read people very well, introduce people? Are you able to network very well? That all will be strengths. Now they ask you, what is your biggest weakness? And again, you must be honest, but always tell them, what did you do about your weakness? Say, for instance, what can we choose for a weakness? Say, for instance, you are a more introverted type of person. It is very hard for you to speak up in meetings. So what did you do about it? You make sure you get the agenda beforehand, you work through it, you prepare for a meeting, and now when you go into the meeting, you overcome your introvertedness because you know what you want to say. So can you hear? You do something about your situation. If you find something challenging in yourself, we all have that. We all have certain challenges about ourselves. But what makes the difference is, what do you do to overcome it? How do you grow as a person? And that is what we want to see here as well. The next question there is, describe a challenging situation you faced at work and how you handled it. Yes, tell me, what was difficult? What was challenging? Conflict with a co-worker? How did you sit around a table? And how did you talk about it? Did you work through it? So you will know, they will for each and every one, this will be different, but prepare for this. The next one, for instance, tell me about a time you worked in a team. We want to see if you are able to be a team player. You can't work in silos anymore in organizations. You will be part of teams and groups and departments. And what the interviewers want to see is, will you be able to get along with other people? This is very important. Last one, they give me an example of when you showed leadership. Where did you step up? So go really think through this, make notes for yourself to help you prepare for the interview. If we continue there, you will see motivation and fit. Why are you leaving your current job? If you apply now for a new position, why are you leaving your current job? And please don't go there and badmouth your current job, the current position that you are part of. Say you are maybe stuck, there's no growth opportunities for you. The new company that you apply now for provide that. You want to climb the corporate ladder, you want to become a leader, and this organization that you applied now for provide you with that opportunity. So don't say anything negative about your current, don't burn bridges ever. Ne? So say something beautiful and why you want to leave. And next question, where do you see yourself in 5 years' time? Sometimes 2 or 3 years' times, because change is ever evolving. So where do you see yourself? We want to see, do you have vision for your career? So provide an answer that people can say, okay, you definitely have vision for yourself. You see yourself in a certain position in a certain time frame. What motivates you? Why do you want to jump out of bed each and every morning? What motivates you? And again, make sure that everything links up to the organization and the position that you apply for. And then now the deal breaker, why should we hire you? Now you really need to come up and tell us, what are you good at? And what will your contribution is a unique contribution that the organization will benefit from. So it's very important to make sure you answer that very well. Ne? Don't be too arrogant, ne? But be very confident in what you can do, what you can bring to the table. Very important. And then there always will be questions about the company and role specifics. Very important here, guys. What do you know about our company? Yeah, people want to see, did you research them very well? Did you go and look at their Facebook pages? Sorry. Did you look at all their social media? What did you learn from their web pages? So go and make sure you know, if they ask you something about that, that you'll be able to answer that. The next question also, how do you handle stress and pressure? Sorry. Okay, let me try again. How do you how do you handle stress and pressure? What do you do for yourself to be able to handle stress and pressure? Do you exercise? Do you make sure that you get 7 to 8 hours sleep at night? If you are in stress, do you eat correctly? It sounds stupid, but what do you do for yourself to make it, oh, sorry, to make sure that you are in a good state to be able to handle stress and pressure? Then the next question, describe your ideal work environment. What is that? For each and everyone, it will be something different. But again, make sure that what you answer here will link up with the position that you apply for. You can't tell them there that you want to work on an island with a beautiful view, all alone, if you need to deal with very difficult teams all the time. So make sure there's a link. And then, guys, the deal breaker question, what questions do you have for us? Now, I'll come to that next. I'm going to answer that question just now. Interviewers can also ask you behavioral questions using the STAR method. It's all about the situation, the task, the action, result. There you'll see it is, and these questions, please go and use this information when you prepare for your interviews. Tell me about a time you failed and what you learned. So tell them about a time. Think it through, and what did you learn from that experience, and how do you apply that new knowledge and experience in your life now or in your work situation? Describe a time that you had to meet a tight deadline. You can think through that. Give an example of when you had to adapt to change. Oh, that's very important because we need to adapt to change all the time. So please come up with a very good example and tell them, how did you adapt to change? Now, I said that deal breaker question at the end of the interview. Do you have any questions for us or me? Now, this is the excellent opportunity for you to demonstrate your interest and how did you prepare for this interview. This is very, very important. Yeah, I just provide you with some practical approaches, questions that show genuine interest in the role. For instance, you can ask. It's not just, you don't sit there and ask, how many days would I have leave? Or will there be a yearly salary increase and all of that? You can ask questions like, what does a typical day a week look like in this position? That's an excellent question. Now, immediately, the interviewers need to explain about their organization and how it looks within their working space. What are the biggest challenges someone in this role would face? Excellent question. Again, it provides you with valuable information, because with that question, you learn more about what they would expect from you in that position. Or about the team and company culture. Can you tell me about the team I'll be working with? Immediately, they need to tell you more about how many people are part of that team, how does the team look like. So it provides you as well with very important information. Questions about growth and development. What opportunities are there for professional development? Of course, we want to know, can we climb the corporate ladder? Will there be development courses? All of that stuff. And then strategic questions about the business. What are the company's main priorities for the next year? Also an excellent question to ask. So again, now you can learn how more about the company and their structure and what's important to them. And then I said what to avoid. Questions easily answered by their website. You don't want to ask a question if you research the company that you could get from their website. Salary and benefits, that's for a later stage. Vacation time or work-life balance also. Not initially, you don't ask. Anything negative about previous employees, you don't do that. So people will be very, very, really, they will admire you if you can come up with excellent questions at the end of the interview. If they say, any questions for us, and you ask any of these. Okay, before I continue, any questions from you guys? Before this in the chat box. Oh, okay. There, Megan was there. Sonika, you asked, am I allowed to make a list of relevant questions for the company and take it with me? So like question 1, question 2, and so on. Or can it be considered? No, you can make a list of questions and you can take it in. And it would be very good if you know that questions by heart. So better to make sure you know what you want to ask. But if you want to go in with the questions and with the keywords highlighted, please do so. People want to see, did you prepare for the interview or not? That's very important. That's good. Okay, now I know it's almost time. Do you guys still have time? Effective ways to present yourself very positively during an interview. Very important is to prepare yourself for the interview. I said there, develop a clear, concise, elevated pitch that highlights your key strengths. Very important to be able to come up and tell us more about your core strengths, and again, how do these core strengths align with the job requirements? I can't say it enough. You need to be able to make the links. They will listen. They will see your cover letter, they will see your CV. Now they ask certain questions and they want to see if you are able to make the links. And then also when you provide them specific examples during the interview, when answering the question, demonstrate these strengths in action and these links in actions. I said they use the STAR method, for example, and it's just about provide the situation so that they can see the context, explain the task, explain what you needed to accomplish, then the action, something that you actually did, and then the outcome. What will be the results then of this? Important, showcase your value. It's important all the time to show them that your contribution will be an add-on to them. It will add meaning to their organization. I said they quantify your achievements when possible. So in a marketing position, for instance, I can increase sales by 15%, for example. Also important, always try to connect your past experiences to the current needs. Very important. I said there's strategic self-presentation. Be confident, but not arrogant. Let your accomplishments speak for themselves, and shows enthusiasm, not all over the place, but shows enthusiasm for the role and the company, and also demonstrate your knowledge about their organization and industry. Show genuine interest in the type of thoughtful questions that you ask. That's very important. And address your weaknesses strategically. We've talked about it, but really choose a real weakness that won't disqualify you. Very important. And explain to them what did you do to improve it. Because this shows that you are very committed to growth, that you want to develop as an individual and as a person. I also say their professional presence, to maintain good eye contact and the body language, speak clearly and appropriate, and be able so that they can listen to you, not too fast, not too slow. Also listen actively and respond thoughtfully. And why am I saying that? Sometimes people are so stressful, they can't listen properly, and then they don't answer what is asked. So make sure that you listen actively. And you can follow up with specific examples. Key phrases to use, I just give you there some examples where you can use words like in my experience, or I successfully, or this resulted in, or I'm particularly proud of, and you explain it. So the main thing here is remember to be authentic, to be yourself, and to show them who you are. So nonverbal communication behavior, also very important. People will look at what you do not say. So eye contact, maintain steady eye contact. I said there 50 to 70% of the time. If it's a panel, look at each interviewer in the panel, not only at one person. If someone in the panel asks a question, answer that question looking for that person, but also make eye contact with the rest of the panel. I said they avoid staring or looking away completely. Don't look there at the roof, look there and all over the place. Now, please look at the people and answer them with straight eye contact. Also, make sure about your posture and your body composition. Sit up straight, but relax. And also, if you lean a bit forward, it shows engagement. Not that, not there on your back, a bit forward. Keep your both feet flat on the floor and avoid slouching, crossing arms, turning away from the interviewer. All that you need to show that you are interested in the fact that you are here and you want to behave in a positive manner. Facial expressions, smile genuinely when appropriate. Show active listening, responsive facial expressions, very important. Maintain a pleasant, interested expression. Now you listen actively. What are they saying? Avoid blank stares or overly serious expressions throughout. So be normal, be yourself. And hand gestures. Use natural, controlled hand movements while speaking. Keep your hands visible. Don't sit on your hands or hide your hands in your pockets or under the table or fidgeting with your hands or clicking on a pen or playing with jewelry all the time. Yes, don't do that. Just calm hands on your lap answer the questions, use hand movements from time to time. That's all good. Use gestures to emphasize points, but don't overdo it. I think you get the picture there. Voice and pace, clear voice, moderate pace, appropriate volume, not too loud, but at the volume so that anyone in the room can hear you clearly. Vary your tone to show tone of voice to show enthusiasm. That's very important. And if they ask you a question, you might pause for a moment, think about it to collect your thoughts, and then answer them. That's fine. I said there, professional presence, good posture. When you enter the building, firm handshake, eye contact, mirror the interviewer's energy level, yes. Show respect for personal space, very important. Don't move into that person's personal space, just appropriate. Active listening signal, not occasionally to show that you're understanding. You can take brief notes if you want to. You can ask clarifying questions if you need to. That is okay. And respond to what was actually said. That is very important. So the non-verbal communication, this is the end, is also very important. People will look at you right from the start. When you enter that room and you give your first handshake and you start talking, people will look at your facial expression, tone of voice, how you sit, how you walk, what are you doing with your hands, that all is very, very important. At the end, this is the last slide. Just on effort and preparation before anything else, Alexander Graham Bell said, preparation is the key to success. And guys, I can only agree to that and underline it and highlight it. Prepare for your interviews. Work on yourself. If it's difficult for you, suddenly to talk about yourself, then sit down with a friend, let the person ask you questions, talk to that person, get used to answering questions, get used to hearing yourself answering the questions. That's very important. Prepare for it. So, okay, last time to any questions that you guys want to know more about, anything. You guys ask. No, if you're sitting with your legs crossed, seen as rude, not, but feet on the ground. That's good. Peter, you say the problem I face with CVs is that I don't know how to talk about myself or present myself to others. How do you practice this, especially if I need to talk about my CV during the interview? This is why it's so important to work through this list or any list of questions. Go and look at interview questions, the generally asked questions, write paragraphs about it, answer yourself, prepare for it, write it out, and then go and when you prepare for a presentation and you need to hear yourself talk all the time, let someone, a friend of you, ask you questions and you prepare for it by answering it. And that's the best way. And guys, don't be modest. If you are good at certain things, please, we want to know about it. You can be of great value to an organization. So please market yourself in a good manner. If you are in an interview and a call from a family comes through, how do you approach it? You don't take your phone with you. No phone. Leave it. Leave it in the car, leave it in your bag, no phone. The only thing you focus on is the interview. That's all. Any other questions? Are you guys good? Well, if you ask, how do you make your application stand out if you don't meet the experience requirement, especially if you are fresh from graduation, considering that your qualifications align with the advertised positions? Yeah, it is difficult. But during your time as a student, did you do some vacation work maybe? Were you part of some projects maybe? Did you do some community work? Did you do some shadow work maybe? You need to, all of that, please use that information and try to make links and market yourself in that way as well. Any other questions, guys? Are we all good? Okay, then that's all from me. Thank you, guys. It was great to be part of your team tonight. And then it's over to Tertius again. Thank you.
Marlene, thank you very much. It was very insightful. I think you taught me a few things. For the next time I have to have an interview or do an appointment in the office. You talk about 60 CVs. I get around 200 CVs for an application. And I want to share this. 200 people that I don't know. One of them. I have only one position available. So basically what I'm looking for is, I'm looking for a reason on a CV not to appoint this person, so that I can filter them. No?
Yes.
The cover letter, especially that you refer to, we're looking for spelling because being accurate is very important. And if somebody is working on our databases and they can't do spelling correctly, and a spelling mistake on the email address, if he did that, it means that we won't be able to get hold of the person with that email address because it doesn't exist. So accuracy is very important, and we measure that on the cover letter.
Yeah.
So that is the picture they talk about, a professional picture. It's not a picture taken by a professional photographer. You must look professional on the picture.
Yeah.
And then
Yes.
I will want to add to that on your picture, and you can listen carefully. You will be judged on that picture. That's unfortunately the truth.
It's true.
What we're
Yes.
looking for is, can you do the job? And are you teachable? Are you reliable? And will you fit? And if you fit into that description, then we consider you to get you for an interview. That's before you even saw it. And then we go through that thing. So thank you very much for describing that to us, that how you should act, how you should prepare for an interview. I think that's very important. And the sad truth is that out of 200 applications, there's only one job. There's 199 disappointments out there. So unfortunately, that's the way you're going to experience it. But the better you prepare, the less likely that will be.
Absolutely.
All right.
Yes.
Marlene, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Lovely to be here.